We're getting ready to get going on this. What? What did it say? That's weird. It's not showing up the same. All right, we're live here. Just getting started. So if you didn't see the what we're talking about today, we're actually going to be talking about handling the or competing with other estimates. A lot of us do the 3 estimate challenge. That's what I like to call it. The 3 estimate challenge. I don't know if some of you guys on TikTok, I posted a video last week, did pretty good, had like 35,000 views, had a ton of comments in there. And the video was about, I want to get a few more estimates, like how to handle that objection. I want to get a few more estimates. And we've all heard this. We hear it a lot actually. And a lot of the people commenting on that video were actually homeowners or clients that would be clients explaining why they wanted to get 3 estimates. And I was getting everything from it's none of your business to we want to compare pricing to we want to know if we're getting the correct value. There was a lot of people responding about like comparing pricing, knowing if they're getting ripped off, to see if they're being overcharged and all of these different things. Now here's the interesting part about that. Unless you work in construction in some capacity, right? Maybe your client is not a carpenter, but maybe they work for, let's say, they work for a plumbing outfit and they're an office person. They answer the phone, they do accounts payable, whatever. They're somehow attached to the construction industry. They may have somewhat of an idea of like what should be a kind of a normal price if you're getting ripped off, like people that have the general knowledge of some of these things, right? But the reality is that most of these people have no idea if they're the pricing. They have no idea if they're getting ripped off. They have no idea if they're being overcharged. They have no idea if the pricing that they're being quoted fits the quality of work that the contractor is going to do for them. That's just the reality of it. If you get 3 estimates and one comes in at 20,000, and one comes in at 16,000, and one comes in at 12,000, how do you know which one's going to be giving you the best value? How do you know that the 20,000 is overcharging you? How do you know that the one that's doing 12,000 doesn't even know his numbers? He's actually losing $2,000, but he doesn't even realize it because he's new in the industry. And so there's all these different things that happen with this objection. And a lot of contractors they get mad, they get butthurt. Well, call me back when the job's screwed up and then I'll come back and fix it. And it's going to be twice as much when you call me. Like that's the typical reaction I get from contractors, because I asked a similar question many months ago. And that's what the overwhelming majority of contractors' responses was. Call me back when a job's screwed up. It's going to cost twice as much to fix it. Right. So there's a lot of ego on the contractor side that's blinding them. And there's a lot of ignorance on the customer side that's blinding them. And neither one of them are wrong per se in what they're saying or what they're thinking or the way they're approaching it. But there's a lot of misconception and a lot of misunderstanding on both parts. And so what I want to talk about today is from the contractor's perspective of why it's not a big deal if your client wants to get multiple estimates, and why you shouldn't be upset if they want to get multiple estimates, and some word tracks of how to navigate that objection. And really, sometimes it's an objection. It's a flat out objection. It's a price point. It's a price problem. But that's not always the case. And that was evident in my responses that I got from clients in my last video, was that it's they want to just get multiple ones to fill them out. They've always been told get 3 estimates. There's a lot of myths, and there's a lot of missayings and things out there. Get 3 estimates and pick the middle one. We've probably heard that before. There's a lot of that happens with clients. And so a lot of, from the client's perspective, more times than not, it's because they don't know really they don't really know what they're talking about. And so they're trying to get an understanding of pricing. They believe that if they get multiple estimates, that will help them to determine if someone is overcharging or not. Now, somebody said, Nunya said, shit, it's your money. There shouldn't be any question about it. I'm not sure what you mean by that. It's your money. There shouldn't be any question about it. Can you elaborate on that? Because I'm not sure what you mean. So whenever a client of yours, if you go through a process, let's say now, if you followed me for a second, I talk about pre-qualifying people over the phone for this very reason. Like, this is one of the reasons why. If someone's getting multiple estimates, well, let's back up for a second. There's only a few reasons why someone would want to get multiple estimates. One, they are looking for the cheapest price. That's a real valid reason. And more times than not, that's probably the one that comes out on top. But it's not the only reason. The other reason is because it's an insurance job and the insurance is requiring them to get multiple estimates. Another reason is because they believe, based on information they've been told before, that get multiple estimates so that you can compare them against each other and make sure you're not getting ripped off, right? That's an information problem. That's not so much a pricing problem. He says, if you are the one paying for a job, why shouldn't you do that? I'm not saying you shouldn't get multiple estimates. I'm assuming you're talking about from a customer's perspective. Excuse me. I'm not saying you shouldn't get multiple estimates. I mean, but if you get 3 estimates, why not get 10 estimates? Why not get 50? Why is 3 the magic number? What do you think you're going to solve by getting 3 estimates? I'm talking with Nunya here. He's approaching this from the customer's perspective, which I appreciate you sharing that. I really do. So why not get 10 estimates or 20 estimates, right? Because if you had 25 estimates, that would give you a much better understanding of pricing points from across the board, right? You would start to see kind of a medium price come out of that. But you could get 3 estimates from 3 crappy contractors. And all 3 of those contractors, no matter which one you hire, will deliver a crappy product to you on the back end. You could also, get estimates from 3 very successful contractors, and regardless of their price, they're going to deliver you a great product at the end and experience. So there's no guarantee that just because you get 3 estimates that you're going to figure out who the best contractor is to hire. And that's my point, is that just because people ask, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get multiple estimates. So for the contractors watching, if somebody is wanting to get multiple estimates, you shouldn't be upset with that. However, we want to know if we're talking to someone who is trying to figure out if they're going to get the best value for what they're paying, if they're trying to figure out if they're being overcharged, or if they truly just want the cheapest price. And so if you want the cheapest price, if the customer wants the cheapest price, those are not going to be our clients, right? So that's where the questioning comes in whenever we're having these conversations. Now, back to what I was saying, what I teach is you should pre-qualify over the phone. You should be able to find out if people that you're talking to are serious about getting the job done, if they just woke up that morning and they have no idea what the price of the project's going to be, and they want you to tell them if they can afford it by coming out and giving a free estimate, only to tell them it's going to be $35,000. And they're like, hell no, I don't have more than 15,000. That stuff does happen. There are people who want to use the contractor to tell them whether or not they can afford it, right? And so we can eliminate a lot of that by asking very calibrated questions on the phone. Now, some of you still go out and meet with your clients and do free estimates, and that's fine. I'm not trying to convince you on this call, but even if you're standing in front of them and you're asking these questions, you still want to know. I want to know before I go back and put 3-4 hours into an estimate, if all you care about is price. And if all you care about is price, then we're not going to be a good fit for you, right? And so there's really two things that I want to dig into on this, on handling. I'm calling it objection. It's probably not best classified as an objection. It's a legitimate concern or a legitimate process, right? It's not necessarily an objection. It's really only an objection if price is the only thing that matters. Then it becomes an objection. So if we're dealing with people that are only looking for price, then we want to weed those people out and not waste any more of our time, right? But if they're looking for value and not necessarily price, because let's be honest, there's different levels of value. And it depends on what you're doing. If I needed to get my grass cut, if I was going out of town for 3 weeks and I needed someone to cut my grass for the 3 weeks while I'm gone, I could care less if the kid next door, if I pay him $10 and he does a crappy job, I don't really care, because if I come back, even if he does a crappy job within those 3 weeks, I can fix it. Within 1 to 2 weeks, I could have it back to where I want it. So for me, it may not be worth, paying $60 a week to have my grass cut by a professional lawn service if I can hire the kid next door and pay him $10 a week. So that's a situation where it doesn't always make sense to have quality. However, if I'm remodeling my kitchen and I'm going to live in there for the rest of my life, I'm not going to hire the cheapest contractor. It's not going to be a situation about price. Now let's just throw it out here. We're talking about within reason, right? If I'm not a millionaire, I can't afford to spend $200,000 on a brand new kitchen remodel. But if we're talking about the difference between a $60,000 and a $40,000 price point on the exact same kitchen remodel, there's going to be some variation there that has to be considered, right? So if you get 3 estimates for a kitchen remodel and one's $100,000 and one's $50,000 and one's $25,000, those people are not bidding the same kitchen. Like, just straight off the bat, they're not bidding on the same kitchen. Their expectations and what they believe that they're bidding on are totally different, right? So that's not going to help you decide who's going to be the best. Maybe the $60,000, I don't even remember what prices I said now, but favor, we're not going to get into that today. Maybe at the end if I got time. We're talking about handling these objections right now. So he said, if you have little work, should you lower the price for those? Yeah, now let's, again, we're talking about normal operating procedures. If you don't have enough money to put food on the table, that's a different situation, right? If you don't have a job in the next 2 weeks, or you're going to be bankrupt and out of business, and you decide to take on a job at a lower gross profit percentage or a lower profit percentage, that's just you doing what you need to do to stay in business, stay alive, right? Those are the exceptions to the rule. In a normal operating tempo of leads are coming in, we're trying to pre-qualify people, then we're not going to just discount price in order to get the job. That's not good business. I don't care what business you're in. That's just not good business. So somebody on Facebook says, best value, best price, cheapest price. Did I hear right? Best value, best price, cheapest price. Well, best value meaning the money you're paying versus the value you're getting, or cheapest price. That's really the two different things. Somebody said, I doubt it, but I don't know what you're responding to on that. Sorry. Trudy says, so if I ask 3 good contractors for a quote, what's wrong with wanting the best price when the expectations are the same? That's a great question, Trudy. Excellent question. The problem is that it's not really a problem. There's nothing wrong with wanting a good price. The problem is most of the difference is not so much in the end product. Most of the difference in price is going to come through the user experience. It's going to come through the experience that the customer has throughout the process. See, a lot of people believe that contractors, for the most part, are kind of on equal playing fields in terms of quality of product that they deliver. And if you're a client, not a contractor watching this, throw it in the chat and let me know if I'm right or wrong. But most people believe that on an average that contractors are fairly equal across the board on the product, the quality of the product that they're getting, like, the craftsmanship, the actual materials, like those things are fairly the same across the board within a small variation. But it's not so much that, would you say everything is driven by money? I'm in commercial construction and the lowest bidder almost always. Well, commercial is a little bit different. Let's be honest here. Commercial is a little bit different. But I have a client of mine who added almost, if he hasn't already, he's almost near $500,000 of additional profit this year in the last 12 months, and he does a lot of commercial projects. And the only thing that he did different was he just started charging more money, and that's it. So now that being said, he is in kind of a niche area, a rural area where there's not a lot of people that do his type of work, and so he can charge more. If you live in Chicago or New York and you're doing a commercial project, there's too many people out there that will do it for nothing. And so it's going to be very difficult to compete in those types of environments. It's not impossible. You just have to deliver the right value. Almost always gets the job and the work is the same, right? But in the end, the customer wants to spend the least amount. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of head trash in that. It's not everybody wants to get the cheapest price. Not everybody. Yeah, Benjamin says, I've seen many times where commercial contracts are awarded based on the capacity of the company rather than price. And that, Benjamin, usually is whenever they're the people that are hiring, like the general contractor or the architect or the project management company, understands the value of what they are, what they're getting. So yeah, I mean, if you have if you have a general contractor who only cares about the lowest price, they're going to hire subs based on the lowest price. It's just that simple. If you have a general contractor who's been in the business for a minute, understands that you can't always get the quality that you want by hiring the cheapest price, then they're going to go and look for capacity. They're going to look for reputation. They're going to look for a lot of different things that may factor into that. Again, it depends on what you're doing. If it's something in the overall project that doesn't have that much bearing on the whole project, if it's a small piece, if the quality is not as important, like there's areas within a project, and it doesn't matter if you're building a house, if you're building a building or whatever, there are different parts that you can skimp out on, and there's other parts that you're going to have to pay a premium. It's not just universal across the board. We hire the cheapest contractor for every single thing. Those are the ones that you see on TV 5 years later, and the buildings collapse, right? The overwalk collapse because they went with the cheapest contractors and the cheapest people. Yeah, I mean, that's true on commercial. If it's not done correctly, you don't get paid. So it's in every contractor's best interest to charge what you need to charge so that you can do the job correctly. If every subcontractor, let's just make up an example here. If you live in it doesn't matter where you live. If a general contractor is building, let's say, a hospital, and they need to get bids on electrical, right? It's going to be pretty big bid, right? Probably going to use union outfits. Even if they don't use union outfits, if they're using non-union outfits, it's going to be a big price, right? Because electrical is a huge part of a hospital. So you're not going to want to skimp out. And so if every single electrical contractor in that town, and this is like price fixing, but I don't mean at an organized level. I'm just simply saying if everyone was actually charging what they should be charging to run a profitable business, then the general contractor would have no choice but to pay more. See what I'm saying? If everybody's throwing in $100,000, bid for electrical, and there's 15 contractors and they're all throwing in right around $100,000, then it's going to raise the cost of that, and they'll have to pick somebody. But then you have the one jackleg who is trying to break into the industry, who doesn't understand anything about it, and he comes in and he throws out a $60,000 bid, right? And they're like, holy crap, that saved us $40,000. And they hire him, and then he gets halfway in the project. He's way over, he way over committed, can't get the people to do the work. The work's coming in crappy. What happens? That guy doesn't get paid. He goes out of business. Now the hospital is held up for an extra 3 months while they try to find someone to finish the job at a higher price. Now they blew budgets. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And the companies that have done enough of these understand that you don't just go out and find the cheapest price, right? Newer companies that are looking for work, yeah, because they want to get in. It doesn't matter what level you're at. It doesn't matter if you're at the handyman level, which you could say was the lowest level, or if you're at the industrial level. Whenever someone starts a new business, for one, their overhead is lower. They just started. There's so much low overhead. But most of them will underbid because they want to work. Well, if I go in here and I get in with this specific company, or if I get in this specific neighborhood, or if I get in with this specific customer, that's going to lead to more work down the road. So I'll come in, I'll do this first job really, really cheap just to get in there. That's what everybody does. But the problem is that most of these contractors they come in at a cheap bid, and then they stay there. They never go up. They come in at a cheap bid, let's say 75% of what they should be charging. They get the job. The next job, they're like, I got to charge more. They charge at 85%. They don't get the job. They bid another one. They don't get the job. They bid another one. They don't get the job. Well, shit, I got the job when I charged at 75%. I'm going to drop back down to 75%. They win that one. That's the sweet spot. 75%, that's the sweet spot. I got to stay there. And they just stay there. But they're losing 25% of their profit every time they bid that job. And eventually they'll run out of money. As they try to scale, they buy new tools, they buy new equipment, they try and do all this stuff. They will run out of money eventually. Until they tell their friends how much you were and expect you to charge them. Yeah, that's the downside of doing that. See, if your price point is less than it should be, and then someone hires you at that price point, you've now just entered into that level of buyers. So they're going to tell all their buyer friends who are at the same price point. So if you go out there and you start doing stuff for cheap because you want beer money and pizza, beer and pizza money, and you live in a mobile home, nothing against living in a mobile home, but I'm just saying from a cost of living standpoint, there's not much of a cost of living in a mobile home. So your cost of living is super cheap. And then you're going out there and doing cheap jobs because you don't need that much money. Then you're going to get stuck in that customer base of people that want cheap work. So as you raise your pricing, you have to raise your customer. They go hand in hand. Yeah. A lot of comments coming in here. You get what you pay for. There's definitely more involved in commercial. Yeah, 100%. Commercial's a different animal. I used to work for when I first got started in construction, I worked for a developer. He was a civil engineer, started his own development company. We were building houses. We were doing strip malls. We were doing light commercial. And so that's the same, and he was very, very price conscious. And a lot of the stuff that I learned was working for him. We had his philosophy, my old boss, was every time we do a project, we get 3 bids for every trade. Now, I started out as a superintendent, and then I moved into the construction manager position, and he always wanted 3 bids. Now, we had a really good electrical outfit that did really good work. They weren't the cheapest, and he had a relationship with one of the owners, and so that's why we pretty much used them. But he still always wanted me to get 2 more electrical bids on every job so that he could compare. He wanted to compare them to see if he's getting price gouged by them, because, contractors, once they get in with you, then they just start raising the prices and trying to screw you. All the nonsense and assumptions and stereotypes that happen. And most of the time it's not true. But what would happen for me trying to collect bids, if I called you, the electrical guy, and said, hey, Johnny, I want you to bid on a project we got coming up for electrical. And you're like, cool, man. Yeah, I'd like to get your business. Here's my bid. All right, appreciate it. I'll let you know. Hey, Johnny, thanks for putting that bid in. Unfortunately, we did go with another contractor, just whatever reason. All right, no worries. A month later, hey, Johnny, I got another project for you to bid on for electrical if you want to do it. He's like, yeah, I didn't get the first one. Maybe we'll get this one. I'll sharpen my pencil real sharp. He comes in, he bids it again. Boss says, no, we're going to stick with the same guy we had anyways. Yeah, they were a little bit cheaper, but, still have a good relationship, so we're going to use them. Hey, Johnny, bad news, man. Didn't get this one either. Sorry. Now, how many times is Johnny going to come and give me an estimate to do the work if I never give him the work? Maybe 3 times. 2 or 3 times, and Johnny's going to be like, screw you. Every time I come out there and do an estimate, I never get the job. I'm not going to keep doing it. Right. And that's what my old boss wanted to do. And I finally told him, I was like, look, there's not enough contractors in town to get 3 estimates every single time that we bid a job. And so I'm trying to narrow down to quality contractors that we can rely on, keep feeding them work, build a relationship, and have great service throughout the project. He's trying to look for the cheapest price. And eventually he got in trouble and pretty much went bankrupt. And I left right before that happened, but I saw the writing on the wall. So those people that are all about cheap pricing, those are the same customers who will come on social media, who will comment on my post, who will, talk about how bad contractors are, because you're buying the cheapest contractor or a cheaper contractor, and then you're getting a terrible experience on the back end. And that as a customer, as a homeowner, that's your fault, because you didn't do your due diligence to check and make sure that they were a legitimate contractor they're going to deliver. And there's lots of ways to do that. But usually, every time I see someone complain about a contractor ripped me off, it's always turns out to be they were one of the cheapest contractors. Now, if let's say, for example, your roof leaks, tree falls on your roof or whatever, maybe it's not even a tree. Let's say you have a leak in your roof and, it comes down and it damaged some drywall and stuff. And for whatever reason, the insurance isn't going to pay for it. It can happen, but let's just, for argument's sake, let's say the insurance isn't going to pay for it. Now you only have, and all of your money you have available, you only have $20,000 max. That's the maximum amount of money you could come up with on your own. So you go out and you get 3 bids, and the first bid is $40,000. Another bid is $30,000, and another bid is $20,000. Yeah, this is live, Facebook user. I don't know who you are. I can't see your name. This is live, yeah. So your budget's 20. You got a 40, a 30, and a $20,000 estimate, right? Regardless of what your budget is, that doesn't mean that the other 2 contractors are overcharging you. Doesn't mean they're screwing you. The $40,000 price point, he may be the contractor that's going to deliver the best quality experience, because he understands that when you charge more, you actually can deliver a better quality experience. Maybe he has more overhead. Maybe the guy wants to live a rich lifestyle. Whatever it is, I don't know. But let's say the $40,000 one is the one that's going to deliver the highest quality and experience overall of the 3. Just because your budget is $20,000 does not mean you're getting screwed by the other 2 because it's more than what you can afford. And so you hire the $20,000 contractor because that's all you have. And then you end up getting screwed by them because they take half your money, do half the project, and never come back. and then you bitch about all the other contractors are scammers. So it has nothing to do with what your budget is. And this is where a lot of customers get themselves in trouble, because it's not about your budget. Yes, I understand. Like, if you don't have the money, you can't just crap out money. But that doesn't mean that the contractor rather, is screwing you because you can't afford to pay what they're charging you. And this is the part where I laugh whenever they comment. How are you going to know who's giving you the best deal unless you're a contractor? You won't. You won't know who's giving you the best deal unless you do some due diligence first. You look at their reviews, you talk to other contractors, you look at their website. Now, this doesn't mean that it's a guarantee either way. But most of the contractors that run a legitimate business, who are going to be around for a long time to service your warranties, anything else that comes up, who are going to have a better experience, most of those contractors are going to have a nice website. They're going to have, a lot of reviews. They're going to have wrapped vehicles, or at least clean vehicles and trucks. They may have some sort of uniforms, even if it's a t-shirt. That's just how it is, because the higher level they get in their business, the more professional they want to appear. They understand that appearance matters. That doesn't mean that if someone doesn't have those things that they won't do a good job. It does not mean that. It also doesn't mean that if you hire a contractor who has all those things, by default, that you're going to get a great service. Because some people who understand marketing, who are really, really good marketers, there's a local remodeler where I'm at, and he specializes in bathroom remodels. He does a phenomenal job at marketing his business. He's just terrible at the actual producing the work. He goes through employees like crazy. He's too cheap, but he's a phenomenal marketer. And so if you have someone who's a really good marketer and understands that, they will have all those pieces. They will have a nice website. They will have good marketing and social media and vehicles, but they won't be able to deliver the quality. And that's where reviews come in play. I live in Indiana. I'm in Indiana, Trudy. Only 2 times or 3, then tell them straight up, stop wasting our time. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. That's usually about right. 2 or 3. Over 10K requires 3 beds. Yeah. Hey, I just bought a house for 50K, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It needs a lot of work. Okay. Are you going to do the work yourself, Benjamin? So, handling those objections. This was we've come a long way to come back to this. If you're talking to a client, let's say you're on the phone pre-qualifying, and we get to the investment, I share with them kind of what you're looking at, ballparks, because that's how we roll. We give ballparks over the phone so we can figure out what their price point is. And let's say their project's going to be somewhere around 25,000, right? I give them a ballpark. Hey, you're looking at somewhere between 20,000. And they go, okay, well, we'll get back to you and let you know what we want to do. Well, that's kind of an objection right there. It's a red flag going off. Oh, okay. Are you getting other estimates? Yeah, we're going to get a few other estimates too. Oh, okay. Just out of curiosity, what are you hoping to hear from them that you haven't heard from me? Right? I want to know. And if they say, well, it's just more than what we expected, so we want to get some more estimates to see if we can find someone cheaper. If they tell you that, then that's it. Like, they just told you it's all about price, and they're going to try and find the cheapest option. However, even if they say that, but you had a really good conversation with them, right? Maybe they are like, well, it's a little bit more than what we wanted to spend. And I could follow up with, I understand, how much were you hoping to spend? If I'm at 20 to 25,000 and they're at, let's say, 18,000, right? Like 18 is their top. That's pretty close. I may be able to make something work. Okay, well, you're at 18 and I'm around 20 on the low end. I mean, maybe we can change the scope of work a little bit. Maybe we can take a few things out. What are the 3 most important things you have to have in this project? Well, I need to have this, this, and this. Well, okay, so if we take out this other thing, I mean, that thing right there is about $1,500. That gets us down to like 18 and a half on the low end. I mean, we're pretty close there. Like, I can work through this, right? If we're close on price, we can possibly work through that to get their budget. But if they're just like, no, that's way too much. I mean, you're at 20, we were thinking $10,000. 20 is way too much. Well, probably not going to have, there's no way we can reduce scope enough or do anything to get down to 10,000. Right. And so right there on that call, I can eliminate them as a potential client. Now, that doesn't mean I'm done with them. Doesn't mean I'm done with them. Right. I'm still going to follow up with them later on, but I'm not going to go out and waste my time doing a free estimate for them and going out to their house. Who's the clown? What's the clown face for, Jay Hardy's or whatever you are? What's the clown face for? If I said, what are you hoping to hear with the other client for the other getting other estimates? And they say, well, we just want to, find out if there's someone that can do X. Maybe they wanted to have, I don't know, I'm just making this up. Maybe they wanted to have heated tile floors, and you kind of talked them out of it by saying it's not really worth the money, or maybe they break down. I've done this myself, by the way. Maybe it's not worth the money. Maybe they fail, and then you got to tear all your tile up, and there's always horror stories. And so I kind of talk them out of getting a heated tile floor in this phone call, but they really want one. They may not come out and tell you directly, well, we really want a heated tile floor, and it sounds like you're not the guy to do it. So we're going to go out and find another contractor who can give us a heated tile floor. They're not going to tell you that, right? So they may say, we want to get a few more estimates, because then the reason is because they want a contractor who's actually going to deliver what they want. You've somehow talked them out of, or you don't want to do it. I want to know that. What are you hoping to hear from them that you haven't heard from me? Well, we just want to get other estimates and opinions on the materials and things, and they may not even tell you, just on the materials and different ideas, design ideas. Most people are not going to say something that's going to hurt your feelings. If they believe it's going to hurt your feelings or cause conflict, believe it or not, most of your customers they don't want to cause conflict at all. And so they will lie to your face in order to avoid conflict, either for their benefit or potentially for your benefit. They don't want to hurt your feelings. So they're like protecting you. And so if you ask these follow-up questions, what are you hoping to hear? They may or may not give you a direct answer, but if they give you something else, you can always follow up with it. What are you hoping to hear from them that you haven't heard from me? Well, we just want to get some more ideas, as far as tile stuff goes. Oh, I gotta apologize here. Maybe maybe I didn't understand exactly what you're wanting to have done. Can we revisit that real quick? If it's, if they say something specific like that. But if I don't ask the question, what are you hoping to hear? I'll never know. If I say, well, what do you want to do next, Terry? Well, I'm going to get a few more estimates. I got another guy coming out tomorrow. I want to talk to him, and then I'll get back with you in a week and let you know. And I'm like, oh, okay, sounds good. Thanks. That job's probably gone. That lead's probably gone. Right? And it could be simply because I didn't answer something clearly enough. I didn't answer something confidently enough. They didn't like the price. It could be any of those things. But if I can eliminate the price part, then I know that I don't need to waste any more time trying to go out and do a free estimate. Now, let's say it is about price. Let's say, okay, well, we got 2 estimates already, or maybe they've already gotten 3 estimates. You're the third one, which honestly is usually the best place to be. But let's say they want to get, you're the third one. Well, we've gotten 3 estimates. Now we just need to look at, look at compare them all and see what which one we want to decide on, who we want to pick. Oh, that makes total sense. Stacy, real quick, what's going to be your determining factor on who you hire? I want to know what is it? Is it price? Is it quality? Is it a combination of both? Is it how much you like the contractor? Is it the number of reviews they have? Like, what is it? How do you determine? Yeah, that makes sense. I know whenever we've had projects done, I get multiple estimates too. And my wife and I, we usually talk about different things as far as hiring. When we hire, like what should determine what we want to get. I'm just curious, what does your buying process look like in your household? What do you guys, what's most important to you? And they may tell you, well, it's a combination of price and quality. Okay. Price and quality. It sounds like you're trying to get the best deal for the right price. And then they go, yeah, that's right. We want to get the best deal. It's not about the cheapest price. We just want to get the most value for what we're paying. Yeah, that makes total sense. How will you know if you're going to get that? I'm just keep digging in there. Like, there's something that has to be a factor. What is it? I want to know. Maybe it is just the price. Maybe it's the way that they like the contractor. Maybe it's just the one that comes out and does it for free. I don't know. I want to find out what that is. And so I'm just asking this line of questioning. I don't just let them off the hook. Oh, we want to get two more estimates. Okay, see ya. No, I'm not going to let them off the hook. I want to know. And there's nothing wrong if you're a customer watching this. There's nothing wrong with a contractor asking you what your decision-making process is. If that upsets you, if that triggers you, then there's way more stuff going on behind the scenes. And I don't, as a contractor, I probably don't want to work for somebody who doesn't even want to respond to that question. And I'm okay if it makes you uncomfortable a little bit. But if you get pissed off because I asked you that question, that gives me all kinds of red flags into if that simple question pisses you off, you're probably going to be pissed off whenever I have to tell you that the materials got delayed or that, we ran out of the number of tile and now we got to order more or whatever it might be. Any bad news, which happens on literally every single construction job, every time I deliver you some bad news or a little bit of conflict and you get all, pushed back and pissed off, then you're probably not going to be a very good client to work for. Right? So I want to know these things. So don't get mad if you're watching this. If a contractor wants to ask you those questions, it's a legitimate question, right? I'm not in the free estimate business. If all you care about is a free estimate, I'm probably not the right fit for you, the right contractor. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to get free estimates. Nothing wrong with that. Just like there's nothing wrong with me protecting my time by not giving you a free estimate. So a lot of this stuff with the pre-qualification process is figuring out who's serious and then moving on. Marco, that's what I teach in the sales accelerators, how to find that out by asking questions. See, when we go through the sales process on the phone call, before we even go out to their house, we do a discovery call and we find out a few key things from the client. Time frame, obviously if they want it done in 3 weeks and we're 6 months out, that's not going to work. We want to find out their budget, but we're not going to ask them what their budget is. I'll tell you here in a second. And we want to find out what's important to them. Maybe what's important to them is a contractor that can get it done in 2 weeks. Maybe they want a contractor that has 25 employees and they can come in there and knock it out in 2 weeks. And we can only it's going to take us 5 weeks to do it. And so there we wouldn't be able to, fit that time frame. I want to find out all of this information before I even go to their house. Now, how do we tell if they're cheap customers? It's a great question. Well, a really good giveaway is when you say, hello, Brad's Contracting. Hey, do you guys do free estimates? That's probably a pretty good indicator that they're cheap customers, right? If that's the first question they ask you, do you guys do free estimates? That's like the biggest red flag you can possibly get. But let's say they don't do that. Yeah, I'm looking to have somebody to come out and give us an estimate on a project we're doing. Awesome. That's great. Can I ask you a few questions about your project and see if it's something that we can help you with? And I'll actually be able to share with you on this call what other clients have paid for similar projects. Would that be helpful? Well, yeah. So we get through all the questions, we get to the point about the investment. They've most of the time, or we pretty much require them to send in pictures ahead of time so we can at least see what we're talking about. If they want to, if they're wanting to get, let's say, a tile backsplash down in their kitchen, they can just send in a couple pictures, different angles of the room. And that's really all you need to be able to give a ballpark price of a tile backsplash. I don't need to come out there and measure and see if it's 18 and a half inches or if it's 19 inches below the upper cabinets. I don't need that information to give a ballpark estimate. So if we're using that as an example of like a tile backsplash, we'll get a little bit of scope, nothing crazy, but just find out, what kind of tile they want. Are they wanting subway tile? Are they wanting, hand painted Spanish tiles or whatever? We get an idea of scope, and then I can get to the investment part of the conversation. And I can say, Marco, I'm talking to you. I could say, hey, Marco, I got a pretty good understanding of what you're wanting done there. And I'll do a recap of everything. And I say, if it's okay with you, we can talk about money now. And you're going to say, yeah, that'd be great. And then I'll go into the investment. Now, I like to do a Vanguard, which is basically telling them ahead of time it's going to be expensive. It's going to be more than what you probably think. I'll do some type of Vanguard, which is, are you sitting down? And I'll usually do it in a joking way. It could be, now, Marco, before I give you the price, you got to promise me one thing. You got to promise me you're not going to yell a 4-letter word at me and hang up, right? And that usually responds with, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Or, oh, it's going to be, it's that bad, huh? Something like that. Well, it just depends. If we come in there and blow both your socks off and we just, knock it out of the park, I mean, this project could be as much as $5,000. And then I'll shut my mouth and let him see what he says. Wow, that's definitely more than what I was thinking. Well, if we come in and we're a little more conservative, maybe we only blow one of your socks off. We don't blow both of them off. We could still do a really nice backsplash for you for around $3,000. Is either one of those, what you were thinking? And if he's like, no, that's still more than what I was thinking. Oh, well, how much were you thinking it was going to be? Well, I thought I could get it done for $1,200. Right? I'm at 3,000. He's at 1,200. Now I'm going to figure out where we're at. Now that's like a low dollar amount example. Let's say it's a kitchen remodel. We can come in there and blow both your socks off. It could be anywhere between $100,000 and $80,000. Holy shit, that's way more than what we were thinking. Well, if we come in there and we're super conservative and we still have a nice kitchen, but it's not going to be all the high end stuff, some of the things that you wanted are high end, we could still come in and do a really nice kitchen for between the $55,000 and $50,000 range. Which conversation would you want to have? Well, I don't want to have any one of those conversations. That's still way more than what I was thinking. Well, how much do you think it was going to be? We thought we can get it done for $30,000. $30,000? Yeah, that's what we thought it was going to be. I still figure it out. I'm like 50,000 on the low end. He's at 30. There's a $20,000 spread. There's no way we're going to try and come together on that. Right? So you ask these questions to find out if they're cheap. If they're cheap, they'll just come out and tell you like, oh no, that's way more. That's way more than what what we can spend. They may even say, how do like, that's too expensive. I had another estimate and it was $25,000. You're twice as much. How do you sleep at night? It's possible they may say that. Right? But you're just trying to figure out what their budget is. There's lots of ways you can do this. This is what we teach in the Sales Accelerator, my brand new sales program that I teach. Um, we give you the questions. We go through the process of how to do that. Yes, but how can I say no to them? No, I cannot do your job. It's hard to say no as a new contractor. Marco, it sounds like you have a little bit of an employee mindset. Now, I'm just speculating here. You may not. But what's an employee mindset? An employee mindset is the mindset of that you work for the customer. In other words, you're like an employee to the customer. The customer is the boss and you're the employee. They're over you. That's an employee mindset. If you're going to be in business for yourself, you have to understand that you are equal to them. You're not above them, you're equal. It's an equal transaction. You're providing a service with value. They have the money. They need your service and value. It's an equal exchange of money for product or service. Everyone's happy, right? And so that may not be exactly what you're saying as far as telling them no. If you need the work, you may not want to tell them no, but maybe you're saying you don't want to tell them no because you don't want to make them upset. And you're afraid if you tell them no that they may go leave a bad review or tell everybody that whatever. The reality is that usually doesn't happen. Very few times if you tell a customer no who wants to hire you, you're like, no, you're not a good fit, basically. Very few times will they actually retaliate against you. It can happen. It's happened to me before. I've had a bad review because I fired a customer. But it doesn't usually happen. Like I would say less than 5% it would happen, okay? But if you're worried about how to say no, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You could just say, it really sounds like I'm not going to be the best contractor to help you with your project. You always word things that's a value to the customer. It benefits the customer is what I'm saying. So I'm telling them it's going to be more beneficial if you hire someone else. Essentially is what I'm saying. I don't say it like that, but it's always, anytime I word something, even if I want them to do something like send me pictures of their project, I always word it in a way that comes across as a benefit to the customer. If you send the pictures in, it actually will speed up the process because I can even give you an estimate over the phone. That's a benefit to the customer. Now they don't have to take off work. Now they don't have to go and meet with me for an hour or whatever, right? I'm framing it as a benefit. So if you're going to say no to a customer, you have to frame it as a benefit as best you can. And that can, like I said, that can be like, after hearing what you're wanting done, I'm not sure that I'm going to be the best contractor to be able to do your project. Here's 2 other contractors I would recommend. Now they may ask why. Why are you not, what do you mean? I thought you do this kind of work. Well, we do. I mean, we can do this work, but whatever your parameter is, I don't know. But we have, we work within certain parameters and it doesn't feel like that we are going to be able to meet those parameters. Whatever your qualification is. It can be tricky. Firing customers can be tricky for sure. But as long as you do it respectfully and you're honest and just, don't try to be a dick to them, it usually does not matter. It usually doesn't turn into a, bad review or a bad person out there saying bad things about you. TGBYGG, it's the name. Do you suggest sending invoices before the job starts? I always have them pay for materials before. So this is a little bit off topic. I'll answer it. And then I gotta hop off. I gotta go to a birthday party. So because we already went long anyways, but we get consultation charges. So we don't go out to their house without collecting a consultation charge or a deposit. And I always collect a deposit before I do the job. So for me, my deposit was 40% of the job. So if it was $100,000 job, I'm collecting 40,000 up front. And some people may be like, oh, I'm not paying that much. That's fine. Then you can find another contractor. I'm okay with that. But this is how we do business. And so I always collect enough money up front. So, yes, to answer your question, we do invoice before the job starts. Plumbing Tips is late because he had to pull a soap bar out of a water closet. Interesting. The double deuce. Off topic, but where can we get that sweet hat? You can't yet. I'm actually redesigning it slightly. You guys will be mad at me for showing you this, but I have hats here. But these are the last 4 hats that I have in this run, and they're already spoken for. So it's not a high priority on my list right now, but I will have some more hats and merchandise available for people that want them. But yeah. But guys, I got to hop off here and go and run. Appreciate you jumping in here and listening and hanging out with me. If you want help with your sales, you can go to my profile and click on there's a link to the Sales Accelerator program that I launched 3 weeks ago. It's actually part of my big program. I have 2 coaching programs, the Profit Club, that's a whole business, like business in a box coaching program. And then I have the Sales Accelerator, which is just sales only. Nothing else but sales. So if you want help with your sales process so you can eliminate tire kickers, cheap customers, all those things, and be able to sell jobs for a higher gross profit as well, and pre-qualify clients and never do a free estimate again, if those sound like something you're interested in, just hit me up and I'd be more than happy to share that information with you. Like I said, if you're on TikTok, just go to my profile and there's a link in there. You can get all the information that you would need, or you can just shoot me a message. And if you're on Facebook, appreciate you. You can just reach out to me in the group. So thanks, guys. Have a great evening and a great week, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.